Hey, I'm Miranda Hamer, and I'm going to be presenting The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. So we're going to be starting out with the outline. So we have our summary, our author, themes, the appeal, who would buy the tickets, and the community involvement, the costume and set design, and then why you should pick me to produce this play for the Atlanta Theater Board. So, our summary: The Cherry Orchard takes place in Old Russia, and friends, servants, and owners all return to the estate. And Madame Renevsky and her daughter fled to Paris about 5 years ago, so they're on their way back. Um, and basically, the estate is to be sold later in August, and the family is trying everything they can to keep this estate in their family. And then a character named Lopakin, I hope I pronounced that right, um, he mentions that they should rent out or build cottages and then rent them out to pay off their debt so they can keep the estate. Um, However, this would save the estate but also get rid of the beloved cherry orchard that we see throughout the play. Um, in the end, the estate gets sold anyways, and then they lose the cherry orchard, and the family is extremely upset. And then Fur is actually left behind in the estate, and he is sick, and he later dies. And in the play, it is said that the light on him just dims, um, symbolizing his death. And a little bit about the author, Anton Chekhov. He is a Russian playwright, and he's also known as the master of the modern short story. He focused more on short stories over more serious ones and quality over quantity. He started as a sketch artist and was looked down upon because he really didn't have a stance on um, the political issues at the time back then in the 1800s in Russia. Um, and he looked more into trivialities and into a deep he looked into trivialities rather into a deep complex plot basically. um, he attended a Greek boys school while working for his father's grocery store. And then when his father moved the family back to Moscow after bankruptcy and Anton went to medical school to become a doctor, he eventually moved to Moscow and became the unofficial head of the household, um, just because his father no longer had the business and they weren't making any money, so Anton had to basically step up and be that. Some of the themes that we can see throughout Cherry Orchard is social change. Um, there's a different mix of social classes, and back then, um, in the 1800s, there was lower class, middle class, and upper class, and you were basically in one of these classes, whether you liked it or not, and there was no way above it, and we can see that through the servants. Obviously, they would be lower class. The friends would probably be more middle to upper class, and then the owners are clearly upper class if they have a whole estate and a cherry orchard. The next theme is loss and grief. Obviously we have Fur, he died, the loss of the cherry orchard, and the family's grieving the loss of that. They're losing their estate. And then love and sentimentality. Tropimov says he is above love, and Barbara awaits a proposal from Lopakin that never happens. Um, Renevsky is trying to encourage him to propose, and he just doesn't want to. And then selfishness and aristocracy is a really big theme that we see throughout this play. You have Madame Renevsky who sees her family's in debt, but instead of using her money to get the family out of debt with their estate, she would rather throw extravagant parties and luncheons for friends and family instead of helping out, and in the end her actions lead to the downfall of the family's estate. Why like why I think this play appeals to an audience. I think it's, you know, people can relate to the story. You know, they have love, loss, and grief, and I think everyone can relate to that in some kind of way. Um, and people are nostalgic for things in their past. You know, when Madame Renevsky and her daughter come back to the estate and the whole family comes back, um, they're just very nostalgic for a place that they grew up in, and they don't want to see that place go, so they're trying to do everything they can to keep it. Loss and love is a very relatable topic. Um, People have had to make sacrifices for people that they love, um, choosing to do something that you really don't want to keep the peace, and, you know, holding out for an old flame to rekindle that never does. You know, that happens quite a lot in the real world, and I think people can just truly relate to that. Why would people want to buy tickets? Um, right now, especially in U.S. politics, social class in politics is a big deal. You know, we had the election back in November, and you see how, like, everyone is dealing with that. And, like, the top 1% in our country own all the wealth while everyone else is struggling. So, you know, you have the upper class and then the working middle class, and then you have those who are at or below the poverty line. So it's very relatable to those in the story. And then BIPOC and POC are still suffering inequalities today, and it's been hundreds of years. And then people want to be able to relate to something, and that something may be the downfall of a rich aristocracy family in the late 1800s of Russia. So, and community involvement, I don't think it would directly involve the community, like as far as building like the set and all of that, but I would definitely want to do a casting for the local people of Atlanta. Much like Hamilton, I would love to have a diverse cast, just because back in the 1800s, you know, racism was a big thing. So I think to bring it more into modern times, but still keep the play as a whole intact and the message, I think it would be great to have a diverse cast and use those from the Atlanta area to represent BIPOC and people of color in the area. Costume and set design, I had a great time with. For set design, sorry, it's thundering if that's in the video at all. For set design, I wanted to keep that old money Victorian feeling. I imagined like luxury looking drapes, dark oak walls, big windows, you know, just something very big and bright, open, and it just looks like old money. And for costume design, you know, for the upper class women, it would be like ankle length dresses and skirts and like the big billowy hoops that they would wear, petticoats, ribbons in the hair, curls. And for the men, it would be like tweed suits, top hats, ties, nice shoes, a cane, a spectacle, you know, just things that show wealth. And then for servant women, I actually had to look up pictures of Victorian era servants. So I think it would be best to keep the servant women in long black dresses with like the white aprons and like their hair in a bun. And then for the servant men, they would have a simple black pantsuit, black shoes, and gloves. And then why you should pick me. This story is about love, loss, grief, sentimentality, selfishness. All of these are very relatable to today's time period, and everyone has to experience these at some point. So that's why I think the Atlanta Theater Board should pick me to produce The Cherry Orchard. Thank you.